Welcome back to episode 9 of 5465 Podcast, where I explain why Larry Bird, yes, Larry Bird, is better than, or was better than, Magic and LeBron. And also the most underrated player of all time. So, here it is. To start off, we'll start with why Bird's better than Magic. So, Bird averaged more points, rebounds, steals, and blocks, and was barely behind in assists. And we'll get into why Magic had more assists later. But Bird also made a horrible team great, and Magic made a good team better. Bird came into the league with the worst on the team with the worst record in the NBA the previous year, and made them the best record in the NBA. And I think they had 60 wins. Could be wrong. Magic came in with a team that already had Kareem. And Kareem was leading into probably a 2 or 3 seed, 4 seed type team, but they weren't what they were, so Magic made them better. And I'm not putting down Magic for doing that. Bird also had way less talent on his team, and now everybody's going to say, well, 4 Hall of Famers, but 5 Hall of Famers on his team. But Dennis Johnson, good guard, but he was out of his prime. He wasn't the Supersonics version of Dennis Johnson at all. And then McHale, I think Bird made McHale 10 times better than he was. It made him look a lot better because the years without Bird and whenever Bird was hurt, McHale struggled the most. And that could be part of like his foot injury that he had in 87, or it could be, I don't know, maybe it's something mental, but I just don't think McHale was as good without Bird. And then Parrish came in to that team completely raw, with an attitude problem, and Parrish also struggled with every other team he played with but the Celtics, and was so good in the Celtics he was a Hall of Famer. Then you have Bill Walton, who literally did nothing for his team. Once he broke his foot, the same injury McHale had, once he broke his foot in 79, he just was not the same player at all, and he was a bench player. He was simply a bench player. And he's just a Hall of Famer for what he did with the Trailblazers. So you can't say the whole Hall of Fame thing. Bird made his team great. Magic already had himself 6'9" forward. That's incredible. But Bird was also a form of a 6'9" forward. If you watch him play, he arguably is a better passer than Magic. Magic just had more weapons to pass to. And then Magic also had Byron Scott, who was a very talented 2-guard. James Worthy, Hall of Famer, and in his prime, James Worthy too. And then he had a solid AC Green and Kurt Rambis on his team. And then he also had the greatest center of all time and possibly the best player to ever step on a court, Kareem. And the points leader, or now not the points leader, but you get my drift. So, and he also had a harder road to the finals. That East was incredible. You start off with that bad boy Pistons. In the late 80s, they won 2 championships with Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman. Just tough team to beat. And Bird beat them. And then that 76ers team with Dr. J, Moses Malone, Maurice Cheeks. I mean, come on. And the Hawks with Dominique. And then you also had the Bucks with Sidney Moncrief and a young Jordan's Bulls, who was always tough to beat. Jordan put up 60 pieces on Bird's Celtics in one series. He had 63, most ever in a playoff game at that point. I think still ever. So that's pretty incredible by itself. And then also had to play Ewing's Knicks. Also had, I think that's really about it. Magic, all he really had was Olajuwon's Rockets as competition. So there's that point too. And there was also not as great of a system. Pat Riley, Magic's coach, is one of the greatest coaches to ever do it. What he did with every team was just incredible. He went to New York and was successful. Didn't win a championship, but he was very successful in New York. And then he went to Miami and was successful there, won a championship with Shaq and Dwayne Wade. And now is the president of basketball operations, I believe, there in Miami. But very successful for both of those teams. And was a great coach outside of that. Casey Jones was Bird's main coach. Bird's first few years, he had another guy and was just not good at all and got fired. And Casey Jones came in, and he did a solid job, but just not Pat Riley. Casey Jones was not that guy. He wasn't that coach. And Magic had that running gun offense I think Bird could have succeeded in. I mean, he wasn't fast, and he wasn't, but his passing, his shooting, he could have been a guy that in that running gun offense could hit transition threes, which wasn't a thing then, but it could have been. With Pat Riley's basketball mind, I mean, it could have been, but we don't really know. So, on to LeBron. At 30, Bird had more career points, rebounds, and assists than LeBron. Also had a better field goal percentage. The only reason why I'm saying at 30 is because Bird at 32 suffered back issues, and it ended his career. At that time, medical problems were completely different. I mean, you look at 30 years ago, somebody tears their ACL, or Mikhail's foot. He was never the same after he broke his foot. It took him a whole year to come back to the NBA, and he was just never the same player. Now somebody breaks their foot, they're out for 6 months and they're back. Or torn ACL, you're out for 4 months and you're back. Even 10 years ago, Derrick Rose tore his ACL. Has he been the same player since? No. Bird had back issues, which is the base of your body. So imagine trying to push through that. Bird had to end his career early, only played in the league for 12, 13 years. Well, you could say LeBron longevity thing, but LeBron at 30, Bird at 30, Bird far more superior. And just because he's not as flashy and athletic, Bird had way more skills. And LeBron couldn't win with a good team, or with a bad team. Bird did. That transition from Bird winning with that worst team in the NBA to 60 wins, and then the second year winning the NBA Finals, LeBron carried that Cavs team to the finals. They were horrible. I'll give him that. But he couldn't win it. And he never won in Cleveland until he left Miami the first time. And then he had to go to Miami, had played the worst NBA Finals of all time against the Mavs. Was like the fourth best player on his team during that series. You're telling me Bird would do that? No. He just wouldn't. And he ended up winning 2 championships against the Thunder, a young Thunder team, very young Thunder team, and then beating the Spurs. That's a good finals win. But then also lost to the Spurs. And lost 3 finals to the Warriors with Cleveland, and only won 1. And that 3-1 comeback was amazing. I'll give him that, 73-9. That's a milestone. But he also lost 3. Bird's only lost 1 finals, and that was to Magic's Lakers, but Bird also beat them once. So there's that. And LeBron also couldn't win without, his first 2 finals, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, and his other 2 were Kyrie, Kevin Love. He had good Tristan Thompson and just a solid team around him. That was a really good Cavs team that was built perfectly to beat the Warriors. I mean, perfectly. And then with the Lakers, he had every solid role player, former All-Stars, and then he had Anthony Davis, who's a superstar. At that time, was a superstar. So that's my opinion on why. That just really wraps it up on why Bird's a better player than both Magic and LeBron. LeBron just is incredibly overrated in my opinion. But thank you for listening. Check out my merch. It'll be in bio, and I'll show it at the end. And check out the TikTok, 5465_podcast. And thank you for listening this episode of 5465 Podcast. Have a good night. Thank you for watching this episode of 5465 Podcast. Please check out the link in my bio to be able to check out my merchandise website with crew necks, t-shirts, and hoodies with the colors black, gray, indigo, white, and some green. Thank you for watching, and keep checking out every Sunday or Monday for a post.